Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of If It Isn't Love podcast. I am your host, Donisha.
And I'm your co-host, JL Woodson.
And we are happy to be going back regularly into our episodes. So hopefully now you're going to get these on Wednesdays. So welcome back. We're going to do our level best. You know, sometimes you have a lot going on. But I know we both want to make sure that if we're going to do this and we're making this commitment that we are being more consistent. So thanks for being with us on whenever it's dropped in the last few weeks. But here we are moving forward. So we decided that today we wanted to be a more of a light episode, and we're doing something we don't normally do. We're doing some hot topic-y stuff. And you know, oftentimes the world is just racism, COVID, racism, COVID racism, racism, COVID. And so we dug in that to find other things, although there's racism in some of it, but
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So we're just gonna get right into it. So first thing that's on today's docket is having a conversation about the conversation that went viral between Kirk Franklin and his son, Kerrion Franklin. I think it's Kerrion Franklin, which
his real name is Kerrion?
Yeah, it's like it's Kerrion, Kerrion.
He should have just carried on, but that's dad jokes. Anyway.
You really, no. You gotta wait. You could have saved that till we got into the meat of the the topic. But apparently, what happened is Kerrion released a portion of an audio conversation between his father and him, where Kirk ended up calling Kerrion a bitch ass nigga. He called him skinny and po. And you know, it went fairly viral, and so everyone was having this conversation as to, you know, whether or not parents should say things like that to their kids. And let's be, just so everybody knows, he is his kid, but he's not a kid. He is 32. He's 32. He'll be 33 later this year. So he's, you know, in my age range, in our age range. And his father spoke to him like this. And I think that he is actually a child that Kirk had through infidelity. And there's like allegedly, right? There's a strained relationship between Kerrion and Kirk. And so it was like a whole thing. A lot of the saints, you know, it was like, oh, do you cuss like that as a Christian? Because it's not just cussing, right? You know, like sometimes you like damn or shit, like as a Christian, right? But the whole like bitch ass nigga is a big leap, meaning you cuss.
Like if you say the N word, it's already in you, like you said yesterday.
Yeah, but I mean, and he's a black man, so I'm not saying. And I know a lot of people who, when you talk about cursing, nigga is not cussing to
True.
A lot of people.
No, I'm just saying, like if it was already in you, it's gonna come out.
Oh yeah, that bitch ass nigga don't just slip out. It is in you.
Especially with that much emphasis that he put behind it. I'm like, yo, like.
Now I will say that you did not hear. Kerrion didn't release, you know, what he said to his father.
Right.
So you don't know that context of it. And the other part is that Kirk, when he got on the social medias and he apologized to like his fans and to the people, which I'm thought like, well, you ain't called me a bitch ass nigga. So
yeah, but
didn't affect me. But he apologized to people, but he also said, you know, the part that everyone didn't hear was where they had their therapist on the line. And so like, you know, he was trying to have
bits and pieces.
Yeah, he was trying to have like conversation with him and all that kind of stuff. So if you see the full context of it, and then, you know, Kerrion went back to say, well, you know, you don't even go to all our counseling sessions and like all this other stuff. So it was a really interesting situation. What do you think?
I think for the most part, the fact that I mean, I heard some of it. I heard the parts where Kirk Franklin basically went off, but yeah, like if you're not gonna give the full thing of it, like what you said and what you did and everything like that in that conversation, I'm like, anything could have triggered what happened with Kirk Franklin. I'm not excusing him for using that language or talking to his son in that way, but at the same time, like, bro, give the full story, give us the full thing.
I understand that, but I honestly feel like if it were me, I don't feel like there's anything I could say to my mama that should make her call me a bitch ass nigga. Like if she's, and my mama talks like that. I don't feel like there's anything that, and I will say this. I know that a lot of people will say one thing about like he's not a child. And so what I put, like I've made a post on my page, which was about people saying like, parents are people and they are. Mm-hmm. And they can say whatever. And my mama cussed me out when I was a kid and all this kind of stuff. And it didn't affect me. And I just really think that people are really not in tune with how a lot of those things do affect us as adults, and not negative or positive, but most of the time in a negative way. And you think that it's just the way you are, but it's not. A lot of what has happened to us growing up and the way we were spoken to conditions how we speak to other people. It conditions how we react to stuff. If you're used to a parent that was always critical and stuff of you and had these expectations, you don't, as an adult, sometimes you don't know how to take criticism in a way that doesn't destroy you or that doesn't break you down. Right. And there's just all those other factors that go into it. And I would just like to think that if ever there was an opportunity or a space to say, be the bigger person, even as an adult, right? Because there are not a lot of people in my life or that I know that can really hurt my feelings by what they say, because I really am a consider the source type of person. Right. But if my parent curses me in that way, especially, yes, being human and everything, but if your parent follows the word in the way that a Kirk Franklin alleges to, and you believe in the power of life and death lies in the tongue, and then your rich ass calls your son po and skinny and a bitch ass nigga, you are saying that to someone that you helped create. That's the part for me. Like, I'm not, and again, to err is human. We all fuck up. Real pimps fuck up. Just because you want a revolution and because you stomp, don't mean you don't fuck up. So I'm with it. But I also I feel like the hurt that I would have, the hurt that I had was on behalf of his son, because I'd imagine if it were me, if there was one person who would call me a bitch ass nigga and it would hurt me, a strained relationship or not, would be my parent, because you created me. And if we're talking about a strained relationship, and I believe this to the fullest, as someone who has had strained relationships with adults in their life, it is on the adult. Even when I'm grown, it's not on me to mend those relationships. And if the work should come from the parent. So a lot of times, like, I have my whole thing with my dad's side of the family. I don't put that kind of energy because I'm grown now. And so now I decide like I'm not gonna, because when the opportunity had presented itself, it should have come from that end. But I just couldn't imagine. So even when, a lot of people are like, you mentioned, people are saying like, what triggered that? And I do think the full scope of the conversation is important, but I also feel like there's nothing like that. I can't see there be anything that I think that should have prompted that kind of a visceral response. And then the apology honestly should have been like, not that I cussed, or that it should have been like, I apologize to my son. I shouldn't have said that. Despite our relationship, all of this, and I could think, because you have the option to walk away. You can be like, you know what, you're talking to me real crazy, like I'm not your father, and I be trying to look out for you, and I ain't doing this. I call you when you calm down. Hang up. You don't have to give in. Somebody could disrespect you, and you could be like, you know what? Bye. And you could hang up on them. It could have been that. You don't have to call him Poe and a bitch ass nigga and skinny. Kirk Franklin 2'5" and then call somebody skinny and little and whatever. It hurt me for him because I don't know.
I mean, I wouldn't even go as far to say that I was hurt for him, only because like I don't know. I'm sorry. Like I do feel like, you know, some people's words, like some people should be the bigger adult, but at the same time, like that's not going to always be the case. So my thing is, like, I don't know the full story, especially with a lot of other stuff coming out to light, like from what his sisters have said and everything like that, of how he treats them, of how Kirk Franklin's son treats all of them and everything like that. I get it, it's a strained relationship, but if you over here trying to mend anything, like, I'm sorry, like you won't be able to talk to me any old kind of way.
And that's fine. People don't have to talk to you any kind of way, but you don't have to talk to them crazy either. And the other part is like, his sisters say whatever, but they are all the children of him within his marriage, him and his wife.
But that doesn't necessarily lead him, like, because I'm sorry, even with the fact that he omitted a lot of stuff out of that conversation, I'm sorry, that's dishonest.
I don't think it's dishonest. A lot of people put clips and stuff because my whole thing is, and again, I do think that everything, but there's like, we could have had talks with our therapists where, you know, we said this, but you calling me a bitch ass nigga still. It's not something that I can easily just say, well, you know, what's the full, I think that there is validity in like, there was probably more, but I don't think that there is anything you could have said that prompted it. And a lot of what is part of, which they have said, which has been the strain in the relationship, has been because of who he is. And I believe that, like, when you are the outside baby, like, so, and I'm not justifying because I don't know these people in real life, right? We just talking about what we surmise and whatever. We don't know these people in real life. But when, I would imagine that those children get treated differently because they are your wife. They are the children you had with your wife. He is not. And you know, the other part is, you know, like Kirk he's been very vocal about having a tenuous relationship with his parents. You know, his grandparents adopted him when he was growing up. So he didn't have the best relationship with his parents. And so that has been something that he has openly said has greatly influenced and affected his parenting and some of the missteps that he's made in his parenting. Mm-hmm. He has talked about that like before. And I just think, and there are certain people where you like, do we hold them in a higher regard? And I think, yes. Does that mean that they can't make mistakes? No. I think people should burn Kirk Franklin CDs. Like, no. Do I think you got to stop listening to The Reason Why We Sing? Like, no, I don't think any of that, because I think that there is room always to see people as full people. Right? People are complex and all that kind of stuff. But I also think that there is room to evaluate and say, like, you know, because I would never want, and I'm not a parent, but even as an adult, if my child was an adult, if I called them something like that, something that I created, that I birthed into the world, no matter how irritated I am with you, I just can't imagine cursing them and speaking so illy. And it's one thing to be like, you're getting on my damn nerves. You're doing, and calling somebody a thing and calling out their behavior are two totally different things. My mom always taught me that. Like, you are doing this thing that I don't like. Mm-hmm. This thing that you're doing is making me upset and I'm pissed off. Mm-hmm. But you are the person that I always love, despite the bullshit you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I'm always grateful that mama's been like, you know, you do this, but I know that's not necessarily all of you, right? Because I also recognize all the good things you do. And I just feel like it's a hurting thing. And it's like, you not just some nigga off the street. Like, that's how you talk to some nigga off the street who makes you mad. That's how you talk to a stranger, somebody who got you fucked up, off the street. Like, for your child, and I don't care how old you are. And I always think about that because my mom, she'll joke, be like, she always talks about how I'm her baby and I'll be her baby forever. And I'll be like, I'm a grown up. But she's just like, and she had this moment where she was just, and I've mentioned it here and in a lot of places. My mother and I don't have the best relationship. It's not the worst, and it's different than some other people's, but it works for us. We're not super close. Like, we don't need to talk to each other every day. We're not those people. We talk to each other every few weeks, but we love each other, and we're in a space that works for us. Mm-hmm. But my mom will always say stuff like, she looks at me and she's like, I'll have these moments where I'm looking at you and you're an adult, and then I like shake my head because you're a baby still, because you're my baby. Even like in your mid-30s, you're like my baby. Mm-hmm. And so I just think that there is for me, it's like, how we think like, oh, police, you have a job and there are certain, you are expected to respond a certain way because that's your job. And pastors, they be out here doing crazy stuff. Like, the expectation is if you're taking on this role, you are held to a higher regard, that it should be different for you. And I feel that way for parents, that although they're people, right? And, and my mom has done jacked up things in my life that she's apologized for since. And I think that's important. Yeah, he said it, and I think it's jacked up. And I think that I hope that they're like, he's able to like say, you know what, I shouldn't have said that to you. No matter how I feel, I just feel like there are certain things, especially when you are in love relationships. Like, there are certain things that I feel like I can be mad at you or you can be mad at me, and I should never call you a bitch ass nigga. I don't care how upset I am with you, because I love you and you're not my child. But if we're in a love relationship, no matter how upset I am with you, that's an instance in which I'd be like, okay, even if I felt that way, I should walk away. Or I should be like, oh, you get on my fucking nerve. This behavior could get on my nerves, but I just couldn't imagine, like, because if you said something like that to me, it would be really hurtful. I don't know if we could, yeah.
I guess you're about to go to another round of cutting me.
No. Like, I say I'll cut you, like, jokingly, like, that irritates me, and like, oh, I cut you, or like, oh, like cheating and stuff like that. But that's probably something that would like hurt me in a core place, and then I would have to decide like if I would be able to move on with the relationship. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I just feel like people forget, but they don't, especially when you're a Christian. Words mean things, sir.
I think, okay, one thing that I took away from like during my Christian phase. What was that movie? Fireproof? Or something like that?
With Kirk Cameron?
Yeah. It was either Fireproof, or I think it was when we went on, like, it was like all of us went on a retreat and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It was to like never say anything that you can't take back. Mm. And that's one thing that I'm like, okay, that I can definitely agree with, because some things you just can't come back from. Now, I'm not saying this, of course, in regards to Kirk Franklin and his son, like, they need to try to mend whatever they have, or whatever they can be and everything like that, as far as father and son. But if it's like to somebody like to you and everything like that, like, I know my mouth, and usually when I get quiet and I get like, that's basically me, like,
oh wow, it's raining right
now. I mean,
it's so funny because I have a nail appointment today, and I tell my tech all the time. I said, legit, the last few months that I've gone, it has rained every single day I have my appointment, and I have my appointments on a variety of days of the week, and it always rains when I have to. I don't know. I said, why? But okay.
I don't know. Like, I think for the most part, like in any relationship, you really shouldn't say anything that you can't take back, whether it be hurtful or whatever, or calling somebody out their name and everything like that. Like that, like, at least work towards that in that regard. Like, but as far as them, like, the damage is already done. I don't know what they can do to repair that or anything like that. Like I said, I don't necessarily condone his words or anything like that. But I do understand that people sometimes lose themselves. I understand that people will like their emotions get the best of them and everything like that. So that in that regard, I can't necessarily. I'm sorry. Like granted, I don't listen to a whole lot of Kirk Franklin songs and everything like that, but I'm like, yo, like, I feel like there's some things that he can at least try to repair from that. Yeah. At least try to.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he should be canceled. I have my own thoughts about that, even the idea of cancel culture. I'm not saying that he needs to be canceled. He ain't R. Kelly. He ain't out here sex trafficking. It's not that deep. Yeah. But I do think that whole, like, he's not wrong. I don't think that that's true. Like, you can be wrong. You can be wrong, y'all. Like, I think that
in certain parts.
Yeah, we are in a society
in certain parts too,
where people are afraid to be wrong. You can be wrong. Like you said, like, it doesn't have to be extreme, right? Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean like now you're a murderer. So like there's boundaries, but there's lessons to learn even when you're older. Like, I learned, like, there is nothing that somebody else should say that should make me say something. Like you made me say that. No, I did not. Like, no one makes you say things. Now I could analyze and say, this ain't right, but I'm still gonna say it. Like, and I ain't gonna say, like, I said some shit where I'm like, yeah, I knew it was wrong, but I wanted to say it because I was upset and I really wanted to express myself in this way, to own it. But I'm not gonna then shift the blame and say, you made me say this. You made me react this way, which is why sometimes, even if we have conversation, I have to remind myself, like, to explain, like, I'm gonna walk away now. And, I don't want to be a person that just like turns away, but I want to explain, I need to walk away because I feel myself. Like you said, what'd you say? You said like losing control of losing yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel myself about to walk into the lost land. Like, and I think that it just comes with knowing yourself, and like, we know ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I've seen this viral post go around. People say, like, what's the thing you say before you get disrespectful, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, it's kind of like when I feel that, like, oh really, in my throat, I'll be like, okay. Now, and then you have to look at the relationship. If, like you said, don't say stuff that you can't take back. Because even oftentimes when we reconcile and we work through things, it ends up being in a space where it's like, even when I forgave this person, now I'm looking and like thinking, like, you think this of me.
But I think that's the thing. Like, okay, I remember somebody related it to a broken plate.
Okay.
So like basically like once you break a plate, like, you can use all the super glue and all the tape and everything like that to try to fix it, but it's still gonna have them cracks. It's still gonna look damaged and probably be damaged from like the internals and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But like, either way, it's still gonna be hurt.
Exactly.
Or it's still gonna be broken.
Exactly. Like, and so that's why I think that people have to be more mindful, especially when it's certain relationships. Like I said, I said a lot about my mom thinking, I'm always her baby. Like, she's my mama. Mm-hmm. As an adult, I get sick and I just be like, I want my mama. I fill out too many forms at work. I be like, ugh.
Shoot, I be thinking about a doctor's appointment. I'm like, yo.
I think of my mom, like, and I remember when I got my first apartment when I was 22, or maybe I was 23. I got my first apartment after I graduated from college. And I remember I got food poisoning and I was just like laying on the floor, and I didn't have a car at the time. And I was laying on the floor of my apartment, so sick. And my mom called and she was like, what's wrong? I was like, I'm sick. And she was just like, why did you come here? And I was just like, I can't. I'm like, I can barely move. And when I can't, every time I move too much, I'm straight to the toilet. So I was like, I just really don't feel good. And she was just like, she got on the bus. She don't, my mom still don't drive, and came, like, and she couldn't do nothing, but like, I could lay in her lap. And that's all I wanted, was to, like, I wanted my mama. And so even at 23, like, I'm a grown up, and yeah, I don't get to see my mama a lot now because we don't live in the same state. And now, because of COVID, I haven't seen her in almost a year and a half. I'm getting emotional.
Stop it.
You're emotional. I'm not emotional. But like, when we do see each other, I just be like, I just want to, like, when we not mad at each other, I just want to like curl up in her lap. Like, that's my mom. You know what I'm saying? And so even with a strained relationship, right? And not having a relationship with my father, because he passed when I was so young. and then he was incarcerated for a lot of the time before then. Like, there's still a part of me that kind of craves that relationship. And so I can imagine, you know, somebody saying something like that and then just thinking about what it would take to kind of, especially if you think, if your relationship is strained now, you think calling me a bitch ass nigga is gonna fix it? It's not.
I feel you.
Not gonna help.
Only because like okay, like when I was growing up, like, and especially when I hit puberty and whatnot. I mean, of course, my ass was acting crazy when puberty hit, and of course, like my mom has said some hurtful things and everything like that, which she apologized for. But I mean, I understand where you're coming from when you say like that it didn't have a reaction, because like as much as I try to think that it wouldn't, it might have, like, especially in like relationships. Like, I hate people yelling at me. I can't stand it. Or like even just how people talk to me in a certain tone or whatever, like that did have an effect on me. So, and like I would hate to think that it would have an effect on me, but in reality it does.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. And it's supposed to, which is why, you know, and I think no parents are not perfect, and you won't be. And I know that when I have children, like, I'm not going to be perfect, but because certain things happened to me growing up, I'm so much more mindful that I want to make sure that most of the words that I pour into my child is love. And it does not mean that I'm not going to tell you stuff when it displeases me, or I'm not going to say things to protect you so you shouldn't do. It doesn't mean just yes, and oh, woody, woody, woody. It's not all of that. But I just think that there are certain things that are reserved for people on the street, and bitch ass nigga is one of them. It's not for your children. It is, I'm sorry. And I don't care if your son is 80. I don't care how old he is. He is your baby. He's your child. Like, I don't care how old you are, you know? And I also said, because last thing about it from my end is I saw like my grandmother say hurtful things to like sometimes my mom and my aunt. And I know my mama is 62 and this shit still hurts her. So when I'm telling you, you know, she loved her mom. You know, my grandmother has passed and stuff like that. And, you know, they come from a long line. People are saying crazy stuff, but my grandma has said some real off the wall stuff to my mom or to my aunties, you know, to her children, and when they were adults. And, you know, they might laugh and whatever, but you can tell it hurts them. And then sometimes it made them say things to other loved ones, right, where it hurt them, because that's how they were taught. They were taught to speak in a hurting way. And it's not like, oh, we turn a negative to a positive. It was like, no, we just hurt. We think it's okay to talk to people that we love in this this negative way because it's what was done to us. And it's not. Yeah. And somebody has to be able to say, okay, this is not cool. Like, and we should not do this. And, you know, I'll be the person in my lineage that'll be like, not me, which, again, another ad for therapy. Nope. I know it's hard, but I tell people, everyone needs therapy. I'm going to make a song about it. Everybody needs therapy. Everybody needs therapy. You and me and everybody needs a little therapy. Bum, bum. Everybody does, you know, and I know that it's not easily accessible for everyone. And I don't care if you think you don't have problems, stay there. And therapy is also preventative medicine. You should go before you have problems. So when problems come, because they will, you'll know how to deal with them. True. I'm a huge proponent of therapy. Go therapy, go therapy, go therapy, go therapy with your bad self. Go therapy. Okay. Brushed up someone down. Anything else you want to add?
No, not necessarily on that level.
All right. Moving right along. Next topic on the docket. Did you know? Did you know that one of the symptoms of diabetes is racist comments? An announcer in Oklahoma called a high school basketball team of ladies, predominantly black women, niggers. Hard R. Nigger. Nigger, not my niggas. They were niggers. So I'm just going to read this article from NBC News. An Oklahoma sports announcer who was caught on video calling a high school girls basketball team the N-word blamed the racist incident on his type 1 diabetes. You just can't make this kind of stuff up. Matt Rowan, a former youth pastor, of course, identified himself as the announcer in a statement obtained Saturday by NBC News. In the lengthy response, Rowan said that he believed his microphone was off when he called Norman High School players the racial slur. During the Norman High School girls basketball game against Midwest City, I made inappropriate and racist comments believing that the microphone was off. However, let me state immediately that is no excuse. Such comments should have never been uttered, he said in the statement. I have not only embarrassed and disappointed myself, I have embarrassed and disappointed my family and my friends. In an attempt to offer an explanation, Rowan said his diabetes will sometimes cause him to say hurtful comments. I will state that I suffer type 1 diabetes, and during the game, my sugar was spiking. While not excusing my remarks, it is not unusual when my sugar spikes that I become disoriented and often say things that are not appropriate as well as hurtful. I do not believe that I would have made such horrible statements absent my sugar spiking. The announcer went on to say, of course, that he is not racist and apologized for his comment.
How?
Wait.
Okay.
JDRF, a nonprofit agency, a nonprofit advocacy group for type 1 diabetes research, responded in a tweet. There are a lot of symptoms of high blood sugar. Racism is not one of them.
Thanks for clearing that up.
So,
like, how did you think? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, when you prick your finger and put it in the machine and whatnot, like, oh, yep, time to be racist.
My sugar. Could you imagine?
Like, it goes, it's like all, is it down or up? Like the sugar is low?
Yeah, I think your sugar's low, so you need
like,
to get sugar.
You're like, numbers going down, racism.
Yeah, like at what point of a sugar spike or whatever is happening where you need...
How is that? Like, what goes in these people's minds when they think certain things are a valid excuse, or just even like, okay, I'm gonna just throw this out there, like, because water is wet, I said some racist things.
It's because they're racist. And I love the first thing that he said was, well, first of all, I didn't know my mic was on.
Right. Like,
first of all, why are you guys listening to my private conversation? What? Like, oh, you heard me call these girls niggers? These teenage girls. Let's also be reminded, this is high school basketball. So this is 14 to 18-year-old girls that I know it's supposed to be, this a lighter, but it just was funny to me because first of all, he's just the adding of, I thought my mic was off. Meaning, and then to say that's not an excuse, but you're also offering this as an excuse because you're saying, had I known my mic was on, y'all never would have heard me say nigger. That's his thing. His whole thing was, you shouldn't have heard me say nigger because my thing should not have been on. And now I got to come up with this whack ass excuse because my mic was on. He should have left that part out. He should have left a lot of it out, starting with the nigger. But
like, bruh, like that's the thing that gets me is like they think like their rationale for a lot of stuff, like, oh, my mic was on, it happens, or just thinking that certain things will like Like it's already in your mindset. I'm sorry. Like if you are popping that stuff off that easily,
the nigger is in you.
Right.
It's in there. It's like, when do I get out? Oh, his blood sugar is low. Nigger! It's just...
Wow. It's like that. What's that show? Have you seen Big Mouth?
No.
Okay. I just started watching it. Why I'm not sure why nobody put me on to that or told me that it was that funny. But it's like mostly like sexual stuff. I'm like, this would be the racism part of that show if it ever had that part in that show. Where like there's a monster like basically talking to you and everything like that. Like, okay, this is what we're gonna do now. We're not gonna mute our mic. We're gonna go full in.
Full ER.
Yeah, let's make it happen. And boom.
It is.
Blame it on diabetes.
Blame it on the beaties. The beaties is like, I'm just over here. No. What I'm here for. Beaties is like, no, sir. I'm here to get that insulin up. I might take an appendage, okay? Diabetes, like I'm gonna take a left foot.
Or even just your
pinky toe. Maybe a pinky toe or a pointer finger. I just come here for the appendage. Beaties is like, don't put... Could you just imagine diabetes being like, first of all, don't put me in the conversation because I have a role, I have a lane, and I'm here in my diabetes lane, and you putting me into conversations I don't belong in.
Right.
Beaties is just trying to do its own thing, and here you go, messing with the beaties. It's just,
you have a case of the racism.
It is just so funny to me. It's comical at this point, the things that people come up with to excuse racism. You know what? I would just appreciate so many more people just saying, I'm racist. And the truth of the matter is, I believe in white supremacy because I think I'm afraid of what it might be like to be you, to not be in a place of power. And I don't know how to handle things being different. And I don't know how to handle people who don't look like me, who are unlike me, and being in a space where they're mastering things. And anytime I get uncomfortable, I don't have a thorough enough vocabulary where I have to just go to the lowest of the lows in order to express my disdain with something that probably shouldn't even be in my disdain because I'm a self-centered asshole. But because people they just don't say that, right? But just say that. Just say you're racist. Do not blame your illness because I don't have diabetes, but I've been hangry before.
Yeah,
right.
We've all been hangry.
So I feel like that is.
But I get quiet when I'm hangry.
When I'm hangry, I'm easily irritated.
Yeah.
And I will understand saying stuff that you may not have said when you weren't hungry, but I don't say anything that is not a part of who I am. So if I would have normally been irritated with someone, I might be quicker to be like, okay, you get on my nerves. As opposed to when I'm full, I just let it ride, right? So if it's not in you, I'm not all of a sudden going to start throwing out racial slurs that are not in me. And I just feel like, part of the reason I'm not a huge fan of racial slurs is because it's such low-hanging fruit. And I'm petty. And I can be rude, but I just want to I want something that's going to cut you. Like I want something that's going to,
cut? Okay.
Not you, but a person who I am intentionally trying to insult. It's like, but if people talk this way, it's like if somebody, think about what would happen if somebody caught you in a private conversation, right? And your mic was on and you thought it was off. Mm-hmm. What is something that you might be saying that people would think Jeremy wouldn't say that?
That's a tough question.
See, and I'm making a habit of just saying what the hell I be wanting to say. So nothing surprises people. Be like, yeah, she said that. Yeah, I just be saying. So they'd be like, girl, you want, maybe at work, I wouldn't say, oh, fucking idiots, talking about the students, right? I might not say that, even though I might think it. I wouldn't say that if I thought students were listening, even if I felt that way. But also, if somebody caught me, like as much as I wouldn't, it wouldn't be like, girl, you can't be calling the kids stupid. But also not in a like, oh, that was in you, because I know that all my colleagues share that sentiment and be like, your mic just went on because something happened where somebody made you mad and you said that. Or a colleague or a coworker said something, you're like, oh, he's so stupid. Hey, Jerry, how are you? You know?
I mean, I would, like, if it was something where I was, like, attacking somebody's character or something like that, like, then that'd be different. But I don't know, like, there's not too much that I would say. Because, like, I don't know. Like, that is a very tough question to answer.
It's just, I just hope you wouldn't, I don't know. I just feel like there's only one slur I use, but it's nigga, and I put an A on it. It's not a hard ER. It's just an A. And I mean it in the sense of camaraderie or annoyance, right? Nick, it just depends on how it comes out. Nigga. That's my nigga. Niggas. Just like it has a variety. It depends on how you say it.
The most that I would like probably say is like talk about probably somebody's appearance.
Yeah.
That I probably wouldn't say like sometimes out loud.
Yeah. Like, right. Nothing that could characterize you as an awful person or, like a racist.
I mean, Christian version of me was terrible.
What do you mean?
Like, okay, this might be a topic for something that in the future and everything like that, but I have a past, like, even just in form of like, when I was going through the Christian phase, I was like judgmental as hell because of the fact, like, I'm basically piggybacking off of like other people and also piggybacking off of experiences that I've had with, the LGBTQ community and whatnot. So there probably been like a couple of times where I said some hurtful things, which I'm like, later on, I apologize to that person for. Because like, like that really more than likely hurt them. Yeah. But also, it's not just them that it could have hurt. It could have hurt a wide range of people and everything like that. Yeah. And that's when that's when I realized like, like something had to change with me with that. It wasn't just that portion of it that strayed me away from Christianity and everything like that. But that was something that was not already in me. Like, that's something that I learned along the way. I mean, yeah, you learned it, but then those things became a part of you at that time. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is this guy saying he's not racist, but these racist comments just roll off your tongue when you think nobody's listening. And so it shows it is, in fact, inside of you, sir, which I just thought was comical. Like, yeah, so let's add to the list of reasons you might be called a nigger. Diabetes is on the list of reasons that you too could be called a nigger. Let's throw in lack of sleep in there. Why not?
Yeah, it's just oh God, it's white people. Sometimes I feel like Amanda Seales always says there's a distinction between white people and people who happen to be white. Yeah. I love people who happen to be white. You just who you are. But white people, because this is very white. It's a very white thing. Like, oh, it wasn't me. I'm not the racist. It's diabetes. I would appreciate people saying like, look, I was born and raised in a space where this is okay to say, and this is how my family. Because you know what I absolutely believe. This is how your family talks. I don't know. I think so. Like, this is how your family talks. This is how you talk about your coworkers. You call Tyrone a nigger who work in your office. This is how you talk because it's in you. And it's just asinine. But I thought it was hilarious that he said, his diabetes tripped his racism switch. And I just feel like, I want Snickers to really commercialize off of this, because if there ever was a time to say hungry, why wait? Or, grab a Snickers. Racist? Why wait? Grab a Snickers. Okay, because you need a Snickers on hand if you know that's, and if also, like, if you know your health, if you know that's what's going to happen, you better have that good and plenty, the Jolly Rancher, the now have your Jolly Rancher just sitting right there waiting for you. Oh, I feel the nigger coming up. It's in my chest. Get my sugar
suppressed.
Keep your lemonades and whatever right by you so that you could. It's Girl Scout cookie season. He should have had some Girl Scout cookies because that would have helped. Maybe, probably not. I just. I
would rather heard you munching on cookies in your microphone than you saying all that crap and then trying to justify it.
It was just hilarious. So the last thing that I want to say for today's docket is we had the Grammys the other day. I still haven't really watched it. I watched a few clips of some things. The Grammys was in person. They socially distanced. It was interesting to see everyone with their masks and things on, and they had some live performances, so we can see people are trying to get into a place where we are now safely in whatever capacity doing larger events. It was, remember that one year when they wanted like Oscar So Black or Oscar's Not Black Enough, or whatever it was called, the Grammys were exceptionally black from what I saw, the clips that I saw. Man. And I was here for it.
Like, it was a lot of wins. I'm like, yo.
Yes, there were a lot of wins.
And people who didn't think that they was going to win won. Like,
Tiffany Haddish won the Grammy for Best Comedy Album. And it's the first time a Black woman has won that since 1986.
Whoopi Goldberg.
And Whoopi Goldberg. Meaning, since I was born was the last time somebody won that. And actually, if it this time of year, that means you were like a month old. Meaning I hadn't even been born yet. The last time a woman won this accolade. So it was just crazy. If you see, there's a video going around where she was filming the show that she does with the kids.
Like she wasn't even,
and she didn't even know. And her because a lot of the things a lot of the awards, I've gone to one award show in my life. I went to the Stellar Awards once, and so I like what you don't see is they often do the pre-show where before a lot of the bigger name, but a lot of stars get there and they announce
like the red carpet. Situation.
So they announce all of the winners ahead of time. So not all of them, but like some of the categories that you know, if it's like see an award show and then they're like, okay, best actor. And then they'll say, so-and-so also won for da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's because they had done those earlier before the camera started rolling. So the show starts before the show we see. And then, so they do that pre-show, and that's when they announce some of the smaller awards or the ones that they choose not to air. So they announced that, and she won. And she was caught off guard. Her producer was telling her in her ear.
I did what?
And she started crying. And so that was pretty cool. Beyonce got her 28th Grammy award. And you know, people could say whatever they want about Beyonce. I don't care what. You don't have to like her music. You don't have to think she's the best singer in the world. I think she's the best singer in the world. But for people to deny her star power, and her work ethic, you know, I used to have in one of my journals like a quote that said work ethic on Beyonce, because it really, she is like in a whole other tier of her own. And I don't deny all of the help that she has and her team and all that kind of stuff. But I've seen a lot of the behind the scenes stuff with her, and she's like, no, we're going to do this over. No, I don't care. Okay, no, we're going to do this over. She is that kind of a person.
I mean, she's involved.
Yes. And she also won a Grammy for a rap album. Or a rap song, because she won the Grammy for the Savage remix with Meg Thee Stallion. So look at Beyonce winning a Grammy for rap before Nicki Minaj. It's crazy. It's insane. I don't have nothing against Nicki, but you know, I just thought that was interesting. A lot of booty on the stage. Meg did her performance. It was giving me a little like Material Girl from Madonna when she did her thing. Then she had this thing where she had her booty cheeks and she like did that like booty flip where they like play with their butt and flip. And I was like, okay, great. Grammy's a little ratchet.
Grammy came with the skin this year.
They was like, we a little ratchet.
Like, cause I mean, granted, like before, I would catch the Grammys and like if it was on or something like that, I wasn't like just like always trying to tune into the Grammys and whatnot. So, and then especially when it was like a lot of snubs and everything like that, especially towards Black people, I was like, you know, I give up. And then next thing you know, they just surprised the heck out of me and whatnot and start, like, you getting an award, like doing the whole Oprah thing and whatnot. But I saw some of the like the clips of the performance, even with her, and then it was her and Cardi B.
Oh yeah, where she mounted Cardi B. I was like, oh, look at, I was like, are y'all scissoring on stage?
And people
What
actually
is
were
happening?
like super mad. Like there's a
it.
lot of comments on Facebook and Twitter. Like people are mad about that.
I loved it. They was like, and I'm gonna flip you and grind. I was like, okay, little freaky dicks. I loved it.
I mean, nobody was really complaining when the other people were like, everybody was saying like that wasn't the platform for this and whatever. I'm like,
why not?
Like, and everybody's like, they're supposed to be role models. They're supposed to be doing stuff for the kids. And like, they are not trying. This is not kid friendly.
They are not the Wiggles.
They knew when the Grammys knew when they wanted them to do that number. Is it a number? Or
yeah.
Is that an old
you want me to perform wet ass pussy
without?
And you think it's gonna be kid friendly?
Like, come on now. Like, common sense would have said, like, come on. Like, and then on top of that, wasn't there at a time where your kid's supposed to be in bed anyway?
I just think, I didn't even know the Grammys was on until I saw people commenting on social media. And so it's funny because now we're in a day where, you used to want cable so much and all you had was regular TV. And now what I realized with all our subscriptions to watch TV and have access to all of those movies and stuff, we don't have CBS. I was like, we don't even have
CBS.
And then I don't want to get another app so I could watch CBS. And I haven't watched like regular TV. I don't even know if I unplugged everything, would everything work? I have no idea. So I've just watched clips of things, and I like it like that. I just want to watch clips of what I want to see. I don't necessarily want to watch the whole show, but I thought it was cool because we do have these reoccurring years where, an awards platform will decide to really go in and acknowledge all of its Black people and people of color and all the innovations that and moves that we continue to make. And then we have a row of years where we get ignored. I have so many different feelings about people feeling like they need validation from those platforms. I just feel like in 2021, still being the first in a category as a Black person, and being the first woman in 35 years, it is when the talent is there. That's the thing. It's there. Right. Tiffany Haddish, I like. But she's funny, but it's not that there have not been other talented women. And if you say that there hasn't, a lot of people who win stuff in the white world don't be that funny.
But that's the thing here. Who are the people who were actually viewing these things to, I guess, judge on it and give them awards for it? Because I'm pretty sure in their situation, it wasn't a whole lot of Black people that were judging or anything like that.
And the other part of what I learned about awards, like Emmys, I know this works for the Emmys, and I'm not sure if it's the same for Grammys, but I would suppose it's so that you have to actually campaign to be nominated. So it's not like people are saying like, oh, I want them, him, her. You campaign to be a nominee. And like, I think there's money involved, like people pay to be, there's something like, where people have to recognize you. Okay, now you are nominated, and it has to do with like your agents and your booking and it's like all this other stuff that goes into it. And then like, there are this group of people who are selected because they're on the Grammy nomination committee, and then they decide who wins this thing. So it's like the Electoral College. It is not necessarily like the popular vote, right? Popular vote can be this total other thing. But you also can't, the other part is you can't ignore that, especially in the last year where so many of us so many people have gone to social media and how TikTok has gotten so large and all that kind of stuff. And all the dances and stuff you see are from Black people.
Like, we drive the culture.
I mean, always have. Always have. I was talking to you the other day when I was talking about commercials that we see and how all the most popular commercials, They're just Black songs that have been, sometimes they turn to make them more palatable.
The State Farm,
like the State
commercial.
And every commercial that you love that's lit is some kind of, and it doesn't have to be like a rap song. It could be a soul.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it can be like a soul song. It's probably a Black song that you really like. And I'm not saying that it's impossible for it to be something other than that, but they really take urban culture and they black up a product and try to make it so that you can buy it.
That damn Cheetos commercial.
Like the Cheetos commercial, which I wish that...
It's a good commercial, though.
I hate it. I wish they had left it at the Super Bowl. I don't want to hear Ashton Kutcher say, "But I saw you in the shower."
It wasn't her.
Ashton Kutcher, that's what I'm talking about, Cheetos commercial?
No, I thought that was... Shaggy was singing that.
No, that is Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis talking it. You can hear his voice. So she's like, "Oh, I don't want to see it." And then Shaggy was like, "Tell him it wasn't you." So then he was like, "But I caught you on the counter." And then she's like, "It wasn't me."
I need to rewatch that.
Yeah, you need to listen to that again.
I swear I thought Shaggy was singing that whole thing.
No. It is Ashton and Mila. And two actors, two people that I love. I like Mila Kunis. I love Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis since that 70s show. I like them both.
Which is a whole nother topic now.
But I do not like that commercial.
I thought it was funny.
And I thought it was okay for the Super Bowl. I don't want to keep seeing it on the television now. I'm over it. Okay. I'm going to end with this one thing because it's in my head right now about Super Bowl. Best Super Bowl commercial of all time. Literally aired probably 10 years ago and I can't get it out of my head. I think it's a beer commercial. I'm not 100% sure. But it's a guy who walks into a bar, but he has on a clown costume.
Uh-huh.
But the clown costume is a clown walking on his hands. So when he walks in, it looks like a clown walking on his hands, like the head is down there, right? And so like this is the head, these are the arms, and then the legs are in the air. So it looks like a clown, but it's really the guy with his arms up, right? So he walks in, but like a clown. You picture this? And then he asks for a beer. And so they're like, "What?" And so he gets the beer and he turns it up. So it's like the foot grabs the beer and then like where the butt should be. And he puts it in the hole. So what it looks like is there's a clown using his feet to put a beer in his butt. And then they do whatever. They talk about the beer. And then he goes, "Hey, can I get a hot dog?" And it is the best commercial I have ever seen in my life. And it just lives rent-free in my head.
How do I not remember this?
I'll show you after we finish this. It lives rent-free in my head. And since we said Super Bowl, it's now going to play all day. But I wanted to end on a very funny note because it's hilarious. All the commercials I've seen, nothing tops that commercial. And I'm going to show you so that now it can live rent-free in your head. And you're welcome.
Anyway.
Thank you guys for joining us. Is there something you wanted to say?
Thank you for your support. God bless you. Good night.
If you're not already, please don't forget to follow us on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, If It Is in Love Podcast. And on Twitter, If It Is in Love PO1. And if you have any questions, comments, thoughts about ideas for the show, you can email us at ifitisinlovepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you guys. We appreciate you and we love you. And until next week, ciao bella.